getting rid of all the old fuel lines because I'm going to be running bigger. So cut these off, I'm going to rip them out, and then we can set up the surge tank and run bigger lines up to the rail. This goes to the fuel rail, this comes back from the fuel rail. So pop both of these off, pop this off.
You do not look like you're having a good time right now.
I took this strap off and I loosened this back one, so there's a little bit of play in the tank now, which should give me enough room to rip these lines out. Yeah, it's a Pennsylvania car. Okay, so this is what you saw that was in the trunk that I just cut. It is attached to the fuel filter down here via a banjo bolt, and then the return is right here. I just ripped it out from between the unibody and the fuel tank. Fuel filter is now officially out, and it is crusty as hell. From what I understand, any pressure that's in the fuel system comes through this line, through the charcoal canister, and then it runs the whole way back up, back into the intake. So it basically reuses it. Now it's going to just vent into the atmosphere, and I can get rid of all the lines that run the whole way back up to the bay that are on the other side of the car. This rusted line runs the whole way back up. I'm going to rip that out first and then see whatever is left. Reach in there and just yank it out. Oh gosh. If you have no idea what the hell I'm doing to the car, this is a nice diagram of all the shit that I'm ripping off of it. So the bottom left corner is the passenger side of the engine bay. Number 4, that line that runs the whole way to the back, all that shit is ripped out. Charcoal canister ripped out. Number 9 is the piece that I took out that was in the left rear behind the fender liner. 10 is that ugly rusty line that was running up to the bay. 11 is that black little plastic ball that I took out, and then 13 goes back into the bay. So I could have just disconnected the stuff in the engine bay and left all the other stuff attached to the chassis, but this just simplifies it. It's kind of nice knowing that it's not there anymore, and I learned a little bit about the car while I was doing it, so it was definitely worth it. It's the result of taking that shit out. And then Vince and I will put a filter on that and put the cover back on that. So. All right. We got 2 Deechworks 350 liter per hour pumps, so obviously I need some sort of wiring setup for them because the stock stuff just goes to the stock pump. So I got 2 of these kits. It just comes with a relay and a breaker, and I don't know anything about wiring, so there's a friendly diagram and Vince is going to help me as well. Both fuel pumps will sit in the trunk, so the relays are going to hide underneath the back seat. One is going to sit right here, the other one's going to sit right there, and then we're going to use these holes that were already drilled. I'm going to pop this piece off. It'll bother me if we don't, just do it. Yeah, get away. Behind the seat belt, behind that harness, and then back.
We're basically just going to crimp eyelets on the ends of the wires, and then they're going to go to the circuit breakers that we have mounted on here.
And then we will have a power wire from each of those breakers to the battery.
And heat.
Grounds cut. Should be good. Yeah. 2 grounds, 1 lead. Google it with your friends. Really easy. They just get bolted to the chassis right there. And then these blue wires power each of the pumps, so they run underneath the back seat and into the trunk. We'll pull right out. And the surge tank. Do you want to use riv nuts, Vince? Will be riv nutted to this panel. So it should sit like this. Well, roughly. It's good. Yeah. Just making sure. Just making sure she's on there.
No, it ain't coming off.
And then it'll go like that. Then we just have to ground them.
Yep.
I don't really have anything else to say. Then we ran the yellow wires with the red wires up underneath the dash, and instead of going into the engine bay, they go right to this relay, the one that says 271 on it. And whenever the ignition's turned on, it sees 12 volts. It closes the circuit and, lets power go to the fuel pumps. And when the ignition's turned off, it turns the fuel pumps off. Interior back in, none of the wires are visible. The only giveaway is that you can hear the loud ass fuel pumps running in the trunk when you turn the car on. Last step is to ground the fuel pumps, and I just have to decide where I want to do that at. I'm probably just going to do it right behind this carpet, but I'm going to mount the surge tank first, and that way I can see, exactly where it fits and just go from there. Riv nut threaded onto this guy, and then literally mental. I just have to make sure I'm going through straight,
Yeah. Back straight. Or you can just make a pilot hole like that. It's a little bit of an angle, but there's enough play in there.
All right, now I know exactly where this thing is gonna sit. I can mount these grounds, so I'm just gonna drill a hole right here, sand it down so it's bare metal, and we'll be good to go. Well, I was trying to be very careful to make sure I didn't hit the harness when this went through, and I did. So I'm gonna loosen it up, and then I'm gonna have to pull that out and make sure all the connections are good. 2 of these little guys, and then this one up here. So luckily it was nothing major. Stupid mistake on my part, but it'll be fixed here in a second. Fixed the harness, brought a bolt through the back to secure those wires, and that's exactly where I want them to sit. So it's coming together perfectly. Sorry, that's probably blinding. These holes look horrible, but they're going to be covered up by the surge tank. I really do not care. So I'm just drilling through there, and then we can get it mocked up tonight. You saw me completely eyeball those holes, so for this one, I'm just going to line this up on the back like this. And just so I have a rough idea of where to go. And I mean, extremely rough, but but that's how it's gonna work. You'll see. There we go. Okay, grounds through the carpet, power wires running from underneath the back seat through the carpet. Here, show the wiring real quick. So this is roughly how I want it to look. Just sitting how it is, I'm really happy with it, but I can make slight changes, just like minor tweaks to make it look a little bit nicer, but I need to get longer bolts for this side, and then Vince found these, so they'll just sit here. It'll look a lot nicer than, well, basically it'll hide the huge holes that I drilled in the carpet. And it'll be more secure. Well, obviously you can't have the bolt going through there with nothing like surrounding it. It would look stupid and there would still be play in it. So that's what this little guy will do. But yeah, now we just have to run fuel lines, which I don't have yet. Well, I got the wrong ones somehow. But yeah. I guess that's cap it. I might leave that whole thing in there. I don't know.